Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and thank you those in the chat room for waiting for me for the technical difficulties that I'm having. It's really thrown me off. Oh my goodness! It, every time you think you have technical things figured out, something goes wrong. So I had a huge problem with my storage, and this wasn't going to record and go on YouTube. So I had to start doing all kinds of things to try to make it work. And that was a surprise, but it's solved now. And so there we go. So anyway, hello, everybody. Hi, Anne. Hi, Martin. Hi, Lisa N. Hi, Red. Hi. And you're new, I believe, in the chat room. Let me see who else is here. Amazing Mavis is here. Annie's here. I might have said that. Lisa S. Carrie. Mary Harris is here. Wes say howdy here. I like that one. Florence is here. Who else is there? I may have missed somebody, and I probably will. But thank you for all being here. And all right. I know you all want to know about the Casey Anthony stuff because I just did a video on that. The video is going to be linked below for those who are coming to this hangout with a regular public. And I want you to take a look at that. But, oh, by the way, can you actually see and hear me since I'm having technical problems? Anything wishy-washy, strange, odd? Jim is here. Hi, Jim. Just let me know if you can see and hear me and nothing else has gone wrong. But the Casey Anthony thing, while I'm waiting for you to say that, yes, I put up a video about the upcoming Peacock docuseries with Casey Anthony. It's not on Casey Anthony. It's with Casey Anthony. It's kind of her series. It's rather, oh, good. Red says, I can see and hear you. Thank you. Okay, that's good to know. So I put this video out, and I want to let you know something very strange happened when I put it out, and rather surprising. I've lost about 40 subscribers, and that I never expected. I didn't put this video out to get subscribers. I just was so upset with this with what's this upcoming documentary and docuseries. I think it's abhorrent, and please click on the video and get my whole reasoning as to why I'm so upset about this. But I was so surprised to see that there are people just unsubscribing, boom, 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 boom. And it was unusual activity. So, I mean, there's always people who unsubscribe, here and there, and they're, the channel doesn't suit them anymore, or I didn't talk about a case they over and over again that they wanted me to talk about. I expect that. And you always see unsubscribing. This was unprecedented. And I'm thinking, what the heck? I'm pissing people off with this commentary. I'm just shocked, because most people and most of the comments coming in are, thumbs up, and we all think Casey Anthony is guilty, even though the jury found her not guilty. And then I got this comment, which I have, by the way, deleted and blocked the person who put it on there. But I'm going to read to you this comment that was put on YouTube. And I'm thinking this might explain some of the thinking out there. And it's fascinating, actually, just fascinating in an absolutely horrendous way. I'm not going to tell you the fake name of the person that they posted under, because I'm not going to give them that kind of any kind of credibility or have anybody say, oh, that's who it is. No, but I'm going to read what she wrote. This is the kind of what I call armchair profiling, which is, I'm not saying people can't practice their profiling skills. I'm here to teach you profiling skills. I love some of the profiling you guys do. I get comments in all the time and messages, and I'm like, that's great. I didn't think of that. So you thought of something I didn't, that it was something to look at in the crime, and I think that's fabulous. It's teamwork in that sense. But there's a lot of people who envision themselves as brilliant armchair profilers who think their mental practices of putting things together actually is stupendous when it's actually just stupid. So let me read this to you. You're not going to believe this. So anyway, this is how she starts. Casey has been vindicated. Okay, she must be part of the absolute Casey Anthony fan club. Casey has been vindicated. We now know exactly what happened to Kaylee. The pool ladder was accidentally left down. Kaylee opened the sliding glass door, walked into the backyard, and climbed into the pool unescorted and without arm floats. Kaylee accidentally drowned while Casey was asleep. Note that Casey had been told 1,000 times to stay away from the pool. Just 1,000. And mind you, in this documentary, Casey isn't saying it was an accident. She says her daddy specifically, purposefully, premeditatively probably killed Kaylee and only pretended she drowned in the pool. So I don't know where she's getting her information from, but okay, so she's drowned, right? Casey awoke to discover that Kaylee was missing and panicked. Casey began a frantic search and discovered Kaylee floating in the pool. Casey retrieved Kaylee from the pool and began mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Casey had trouble keeping Kaylee's mouth open during resuscitation, so she used... Sorry, I didn't even read this piece before. So she used duct tape to aid the process. Remember, Kaylee was found with duct tape across her mouth and a little heart across her mouth, not around her mouth. So she's using duct tape. She can't just hold her child's mouth open like you do, but she used duct tape to hold Kaylee's mouth open. Casey was hysterical after all the attempts to breathe life back into Kaylee failed. The sense of loss was so great that she lost control of her mental faculties. Casey began to behave irrationally. Postpartum schizophrenia set in. Postpartum, how old was the kid? This is not right after the baby's born. And schizophrenia. Okay. A distraught Casey even entertained the thoughts of suicide. Potential suicides, such as foolproof suffocation, were searched on her computer. So now she's giving the reason why those things were found on the computer is that she was trying to commit suicide. Okay. Casey then dressed Kaylee and put her wet swimsuit, which reeked of chlorine, in the Pontiac trunk. And in parentheses, some of Kaylee's hairs were attached to the swimsuit. Casey then drove around town in a zombie-like state. Okay. She was confused and did not know what to do. Should she take Kaylee home? Should she take Kaylee to the hospital? Should she take Kaylee to Blanchard Park? Should she take Kaylee to Universal Studios? Should she bury Kaylee? So Casey frantically searched for places that were familiar to her. Blanchard Park, Sawgrass Apartments, Target, Blockbuster's Fusion. The chaotic travel orgy lasted for days, while Casey became even more and more irrational. So, this is why Kaylee's in the trunk for so long, because she doesn't know where to bury her. All right. Casey was now at the point of a mental breakdown. She still believed that she could revive Kaylee herself. Sure, Kaylee's long dead, but she's now going to still revive her because she's in psychosis, you see. Always the optimist. Casey even got a Velveeta tattoo because that's what you do when your kid is dead and you're in psychosis. All right, let's see. An exhausted, emotionally drained Casey finally retreated to a wooded area near her home, a former childhood hangout. She believed she would find a sense of comfort, regressing back to more pleasant childhood memories. Casey began to sense the gravity and hopelessness of the situation and instinctively buried Kaylee. She should have buried Casey. She should have buried Kaylee in the wooded area. She even borrowed a shovel from a neighbor to conduct a proper burial ceremony. Casey also buried a few sentimental items along with Kaylee so Kaylee would not be alone. A traumatized Casey attempted to continue on with her life, refusing to accept Kaylee's death. She wandered around town aimlessly, visiting familiar places like bars and drinking and dancing, searching for her Kaylee, because Kaylee has always been found in bars where she drinks and dances. And just on occasion, a distraught Casey even sought the comfort of men. Because, okay, no comment. The Pontiac eventually ran out of gas and was abandoned at Amscott. This frantic search continued for 31 days until Cindy intervened with a now infamous 911 call. Casey had to borrow a few dollars from friends in order to fund her investigation. Her investigation into what? As far as the babysitter, Zenaida was a generic name for a nanny or a babysitter derived from Zanny the nanny. Zenaida was created as a protective figure, a guardian, a guardian watching over Kaylee. As long as Zenaida existed, Kaylee was safe. So Casey, hold on a second, I gotta get rid of this thing on the bottom. Casey had a conniption after she discovered Kaylee was accidentally down. She refused to accept this, and she continued to believe that she was alive. You see, there you have it. A fantastic profile of what actually happened in the case of the murder of, not the murder, the accidental death of Kaylee Anthony. What do you think of that? Let me check your comments. Oh my God. Let's see. Yeah, the duct tape method, apparently. Word salad. Well, yeah, I'm not sure. One wonders who the psychosis is actually affecting. Actually, this is not word salad, Martin, because I get emails from people who are schizophrenic, and nothing that they say makes any sense. This actually makes sense. This is logically constructed in a grammatical sense. And it's not like she's focused on one topic. She's trying to prove her point. So it's not word salad at all. And it's not any sign of this woman who wrote this is schizophrenic or psychotic. She's just a fool, shall we say. She's a fool, and she's somehow become a Casey Anthony fan. And people do this when they decide that maybe the person's innocent. They sucker into everything that person says, and they try to justify every single one of their actions. And I'm going to say that's why 30 to 40 people just unsubscribe from my channel, because they're appalled that I would actually think Casey Anthony is guilty when they do not. And they believe, like this one, this kind of scenario, which is totally 100% unrealistic and ridiculous. And it's taking pieces of information and then trying to fit your belief that this person's innocent to everything. And that's how she's doing it. Surely this was posted in jest? No, absolutely not. She posted a number of comments where she honestly believes. She also said, please watch Casey's documentary. Now, you see how she says that? Please watch Casey's documentary, not Peacock's documentary. Not the documentary on Casey, but Casey's documentary, because this actually is Casey's documentary. So what Peacock is doing is they're putting out something that is definitely a Casey positive viewpoint. They claim she has no control over what was put on there. That's what they claim. But somebody wrote, and I don't know if it's true, that Nancy, she was offered to do the interview of this. And, I've done so many years of being on Nancy's show. And apparently she wanted to ask her own questions and was denied the job because she couldn't ask, because they didn't want her to ask the questions she wanted to. So, yeah, I'm going to say this is Casey's documentary, and she's being paid massive amounts of money for it, I am pretty sure. And in order to get her to participate, I'm going to say there's certain things that she supposedly doesn't have creative control, but I guarantee you, when they want you that badly and they're going to make millions off you, they will give you some methodologies. So when they say creative control, maybe she can't creatively put it together, but maybe she has the right of refusal to parts of the documentary. I don't know. But I'm going to say this is a very pro Casey Anthony documentary as far as I can see. And you can, when you click on my link and watch the actual video I did on it, you'll see exactly why I say that. Then it says here, so this particular person goes on, please watch Casey's documentary. George and Cindy will respond with their own Peacock documentary. Oh, please. Really? Do we have to go through another one too? So, and again, I recommend nobody watch this docuseries. I know people are going to be curious, so they're going to, but I'm recommending highly against it because I think it's despicable. And I'm pretty sure that Peacock is not going to be asking me to, they're not going to be supporting my channel in the future or me. So, yeah, I'm not going to be well liked. Yeah, they're not going to be sponsoring me. I can guarantee you. And it's not all people at Peacock, by the way. And I don't know who's had control over this, but I did list all the people that in my video that I think we should point fingers at and blame for this horrendous nightmare. So anyway, so George and Cindy will respond with their own Peacock documentary. Please have patience. All will be explained in time. Yeah, the explanation is it's going to be Casey Anthony's truth. You know how that goes. Her truth. And all these things that we never heard are going to come out. If you believe that. Oh, Lord. I mean, just unbelievable. So anyway, so Nancy Grace basically, I heard didn't get the job. I don't know if it's true or not. And if she didn't take it because she couldn't ask the question she wanted, thumbs up to you, Nancy. So anyway, let's see what some more people have said here. Hold on. This person needs to stop smoking so much weed before commenting on videos. I'm pretty sure she smokes weed most of the time if she believes this crap about Casey Anthony. Now, on that same note, I did see this, and I wanted to comment on it because this is, hold on a second, let me find it. This was an article done called, interesting enough, put out, I don't know who, Protecting Patient Rights. I don't know who put this out. But anyway, the blog heading was, can you blame the jury for the verdict in Casey Anthony's murder trial? My statement right now is yes, you can. So anyway, what she said here is the prosecutor's proof was circumstantial evidence. That's not entirely true. There was evidence. There was a body. There was duct tape on the child's mouth. There was a smell from the trunk. There was evidence she had been in the trunk. There were computer searches. That's not just circumstantial. That is actual stuff. That's physical, actually. And we have then the behaviors of Casey Anthony, which are that she's partying at nightclubs while the child's missing. She never calls the police. She lies about everything. This is all very excellent evidence, and there's way more than that, which all support it. And I'll put another link below here for my analysis of the case. There's lots of evidence. All right, now all of Casey's lies. In other words, there's a tremendous amount of physical and behavioral evidence. Only thing they didn't have is proof exactly how she died. But that is not necessary. If you know somebody died, and when you put tape over somebody's mouth and a little heart on it, there's no reason to put the tape over her mouth, not the heart part, but there's no reason to put tape over a child's mouth except to kill her. Okay? So it was prevent her from breathing. That's, what is likely, that she was knocked out and tape was put over her to prevent her from breathing so she would die. That's premeditated homicide. And there's only one person who had control of all of that, which was Casey Anthony. So then the whole claim here is the jury's response to public outrage. A female juror told reporters that the jurors were sick to our stomachs over the verdict. That's because you gave the wrong one. The juror explained, I did not say she was innocent. I just said there was not enough evidence. Well, here we have the problem of civilian juries. If this had been a professional jury system, and I was on it, and with 5 other people, 6 other people, 3 other people, 2 other people, whatever that odd number is, 2 or 3. No, 2. If I'm on there, 2, 4, 6. I'm not doing well in math anymore. So anyway, you'll have to have an odd number always. But actually, I don't know if all countries use odd numbers. It's maybe just the U.S. Anyway, I digress into whatever I'm digressing into. So anyway, the problem is the civilian jury can be hoodwinked by people like Jose Baez, making up ridiculous alternative theories like her dad drowned Kaylee and other things that then cloud things up. And also people don't understand that circumstantial evidence can be enough to convict. You don't have to have DNA or fingerprints of certain types to prove things. You don't. So circumstantial evidence is enough. She said there was not enough evidence to conclude that Casey Anthony committed the murder beyond a reasonable doubt. Yes, there was absolutely enough. It was ridiculous. The problem you have reasonable doubt is because you're not clever enough to figure out that the defense is lying to you and confusing you, and therefore you're looking for that. If there could be one thing I don't understand, it's not, I can't convict. Okay, this person says, my take on the verdict. The public's reaction was understandable, yet misguided. No, it was not. The public wants someone to be held accountable for Kaylee's death, as it was very likely she was murdered. Yes, she was murdered, and by, most likely, Casey Anthony, and the evidence supported that. The proof against Casey Anthony was entirely circumstantial. There was no evidence explaining how the 2-year-old child Kaylee died, and there were no witnesses to the alleged murder, and there was no evidence of a motive for the alleged murder. The motive was obvious. Casey did not want that child. She wanted her free life. The motive was clear as a bell. She was interfering with her life. And also, Casey had this issue with Cindy, her mother, and she just wanted to take that child away from her mother as well. And on top of that, everything pointed to Casey. There's no way around that. So that's just garbage that there wasn't motive and there wasn't evidence. So while there was serious issues about Casey Anthony's credibility and inconsistent versions of what happened to Kaylee, was that enough proof? That and everything else? Yes, that definitely was. So this author's opinion, they arrived at the right result. Yes. Okay. So I believe the jury was incorrect. They should have found Casey Anthony guilty. I can understand some people thinking that it wasn't proven to the point in court where Casey should have been convicted. I don't agree, but I get the understanding of that. But for anybody who believes Casey Anthony is not guilty of that crime based on the evidence that was presented, not in the court of law, but just in your own damn mind, if you believe she's innocent and somebody else did her in, like as Casey claims, her own father, you got to stop smoking whatever you're smoking. You really do. Or just try not to do armchair profiling because it's not working really well. Oh, just so frustrating. So frustrating. Let me say, what other thoughts do we have here? Or is Cindy what? I'm not sure I understand what Cindy what? Carrie said something about Cindy. I'm trying to look back. It could have been Cindy. Well, she could have been, yeah. Well, I think Casey and Jose Baez already fingered George. So, and George is what I call he's the dolt of the family. So he's easier to blame than Cindy. Cindy will come out charging. And I think Cindy will, if her husband is accused, she'll just play games as she did all along. So horrifying. Oh, yeah, not even charged with child neglect for waiting 31 days to report a baby missing. I mean, right here is massive evidence of guilt. Who doesn't report their child missing for 31 days? Unless one knows exactly what happened to that child. But no. The heart on the tape proves she's guilty, in my opinion. Oh, Jim, good point here. The heart on the tape is something some serial killer is not going to put on the tape. Okay. That is something that is very female, by the way. And it's something you do. Say, I'm so sorry I knocked you off, Kaylee, but it had to be done. Here's a little heart for you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think if they hadn't gone for the death penalty, she would have been convicted? Well, that is a good question. This is one issue with the death penalty, which can be problematic. When somebody has to make a decision to put somebody in prison for life, which gives them the chance of appeal, which tells a jury, if you screwed up and you said this person was guilty when they weren't, at least they had a chance to appeal and not totally on your head. But if it's a case where they get the death penalty and they actually get executed, then for the rest of your life, you do have to live with the fact that you were the one on that jury, along with the others, that voted for guilt, and therefore, to some extent, you're responsible for the death of that person. I think that does weigh heavily on people, and a lot of times they just pull away because they can't. They get uncomfortable with that. So that's one of the arguments, against the death penalty, that people aren't comfortable with. I personally think the death penalty, it would be better to save the death penalty for like serial killer cases and things that were so egregious that there's no way around the fact that that person did it and did it and did it and did it and don't need to be on the earth anymore. And the evidence is overwhelming. I think anything else, maybe it's best not to go there because of the way people think. This is a good question. Can the father sue for defamation or wrongful death? Well, again, George is an adult, in my opinion, unless finally he gets some balls. He should. I mean, my God, he should. He should sue the living hell out of her, especially for the money she's going to make off of this. But I don't know. Sometimes parents, it's like, I know my daughter is deranged. I know my daughter's sick, but I love her anyway. We hear this with Jeffrey Dahmer's father. I know he killed, 17 people, but I love him anyway because he was always my son. And Casey was always George's daughter. And maybe he blames himself for the way she turned out. I don't know. But yeah, could he? He should. He should sue not only her, but Peacock. Sue the whole bloody group of them if she's able to get on there and actually say her father killed Kaylee. I'm 100% behind that. Now, as far as wrongful death goes, I don't know who is allowed to sue for wrongful death. Usually it is the parent, and the parent here doesn't want to do it. She can't sue herself. Well, she could. She's a psycho. I didn't say that. That slipped out. She has traits of a psychopath. That's all. Amber Heard and Casey Anthony should share an apartment. They might get along. They might indeed. Pat, Cindy for the comment, not for the murder. Gotcha. VLW says, I've served on a number of juries over the years. I was surprised on the last one that some jurors seemed to think you couldn't convict someone short of video evidence or eyewitness. Yeah, that is the problem because people are so afraid of being wrong. And understandably, see, I have a heart for the jurors themselves, even though sometimes I call them idiots. But you just know me and my forthrightness. But I actually do have a heart for the jurors because they are not equipped to do this. And it's not fair to pull in people who don't understand anything about crime scene analysis and behavioral stuff and psychology and all that crap. Pull them in, let them sit there day after day, listen to mostly boring crap where they're trying to stay awake, don't understand half of it. And then they're all of a sudden they're in the room back there and they're trying to decide whether life or death on somebody or life imprisonment. They're supposed to make these decisions all based on the defense trying to play them, the prosecution trying to play them, experts that disagree with each other, even though they're top experts. How is that possible? They're so confused. They're just going to go with emotion. They're going to go with, well, I guess this and I guess that. And I'm going to probably go with less because less is safer than going with more. So I don't blame them for sometimes situations they're in. They shouldn't be there. They just shouldn't not be there. And it's so upsetting. So let's see. Casey was found not guilty of first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, and aggravated manslaughter. Whew. Yeah. Okay. She was found guilty of 4 misdemeanor counts of providing false information. Well, she's going to provide some more false information on this ridiculous documentary. Yes. I totally agree with you, Pat. I felt this way even before meeting you. Oh, about the jury system. I'm like, what did you think about what before meeting me? So I'm not sure. Who is Jeff Ashton's book? I'm not sure what that book is. I thought it was a fairly good book. What is this book? Somebody tell me because I'm not familiar with it and I'd like to know what it is. I'd like to let everybody else know what it is because I'm unfamiliar. I'm unfamiliar with it. Let me know and maybe I can recommend it to people. All right. Enough about Casey Anthony. All right. Now, I say that just set me off today, though. It really did. All right. I just want to talk about, let me see if any of my stuff came. I was trying to bring out some pictures for some of the things I wanted to talk about. And this was another problem I was having. What in the world is happening now? This is so bizarre. Well, that's interesting. All my pictures are gone now. What in the heck? Hold on, I gotta see what's going on here. All my pictures are gone off of everything here. What? See, when I cleared out the computer so I could do the show, everything is missing out of. That's amusing. That makes no sense at all. Okay, then. Well, as I said, I'm going to try to move these things over again. I can't even fathom what's happening here. But something's gone seriously wrong. But I'm going to try to send over my photos again that I want to talk about. Just unbelievable. Hold on one second. Please be patient. And now I don't know the go over because something weird is happening and everything has gone missing, which makes no sense because it's online and shouldn't go missing. Fascinating. I don't understand any of this. Okay, then. What the heck is going on here? Everything is missing out of my entire computer. Hold on 1 minute. I just got to check something out because this is bizarre beyond belief. Don't know. All kinds of weird things are happening here. So anyway, I can't show you any of these things because they have all vanished when I tried to clear up things, but they're not even in a place they should vanish from. So anyway, I'm going to tell you about this stuff because there's nothing I can do at this point. Maybe I'll just show you a picture. All right, so I'm going to show you a picture. We'll do it the way they used to do it in the old days. Look, here are some pictures of some really nice gentlemen. These are UVA students that were all shot to death just this week. All right, let me show you the guy that shot them to death. This guy shot them to death. All right, now you have at least a picture in your head. Lord, I tell you, I can't understand what's going on here. Okay, so the reason this is such an interesting thing is that, first of all, it's horrifying. It's just absolutely horrifying. And the weird thing about it is this is where we look at a family and a university who ignores all the red flags. And I'm now reading Jeffrey Dahmer's father's book. Lionel Dahmer wrote a book on his son. And his claim is the reason he's writing it is because he wants other families to realize what he never, ever saw as predictors of this kind of violence in the future. Things that he just thought, I never thought they were abnormal necessarily, maybe sometimes unusual, but I never thought that would lead to this. And I really respect him for that in the sense that I've interviewed a lot of serial killers' families, and they didn't see it coming, most of them. Now, they usually had some trouble in the family history, and yes, the child had some behaviors. But a lot of people say, oh, that's just boys, or he'll grow out of it, or, it's just the way he is. They don't see it as, because they're not familiar with things that you should really red flag time, as a major problem. Now, let me explain some of this with this particular case. Suspect in UVA shooting was on a bus trip with victims returning from a Washington, D.C. trip. Now, this is what happened. Suspected gunman, his name is Christopher Darnell Jones Jr., was on a class field trip with the victims. Now, mind you, it's a shooting. So what was he carrying on the bus through the whole field trip was a gun. So he was returning. Until Tuesday night, it was not known whether Jones was on the trip or if he was just walked onto the bus. But no, he was on the trip. Okay, so here is what somebody explained as to how it went down, which is really creepy. Let me find the girl that was on the bus who was telling us this story. Hold on a second. Hold on. Where'd it go? Sorry, hold on a second. Hold on. I think it's on a different website. Okay. Before I go to that, what the girl said actually happened. Well, let me just tell you what happened. He's on the thing, and then he starts saying that y'all basically that they're bullying him, and they were like, hey, nobody ever said anything to this guy. And suddenly he pulls out a gun. He shoots people on the bus. These men on the bus. One of them was sleeping. Shot him while he was sleeping. That guy never even saw it coming. And then he just walked off the bus. He shot 4 people. One is still alive. But calmly did this. And nobody saw it coming. Now listen to this history. All right. Let me find this here. All right. Okay. Sorry, this is a long article. I might be. Okay, the suspect repeatedly refused to cooperate in a gun-related probe. This is prior to this. All right. Jones is listed on the UVA's athletics website as a football player in 2018 who was a freshman who did not participate in any games. A UVA spokesman told their CNN that he had a pre-existing injury that prevented him from playing on the football team. Then what happened was this. They had a pending case with the university's judicial council when Sunday's shooting unfolded. On September 15th, in the context of reviewing a potential hazing issue, UVA Student Affairs heard from a student that Mr. Jones made a comment to him about possessing a gun. That person did not see him in possession of a gun. Okay? And the comment about owning a gun was not made in conjunction with a threat. In the course of our investigation, university officials spoke with Mr. Jones' roommate, who did not know whether any gun was there. However, they discovered that Mr. Jones previously had been tried and convicted of a misdemeanor concealed weapons violation in 2021, for which he received a 12-month suspended sentence and a small fine. Here we go is the problem. He was found with an illegal weapon. I don't know if the weapon was illegal, but it was illegally concealed. He gets a slap on the wrist. And I'm sorry, but first of all, we got to start charging people when they're carrying weapons like this, and especially illegal weapons. We're not doing it. These are all turning into misdemeanors these days, and probation, and nothing. They're not getting sentenced. And then a lot of this information is hidden. So here we have a guy who's had this issue. Now he's going to college, and they don't even know about it before he gets there. Then people say he's saying he has a gun, and they find this out. And does anything happen? Oh, let's see what happened. So on October 27th, the threat assessment team escalated this case for disciplinary action. Results are pending. A lot of times in universities, they try to keep things quiet, and it bothers me because they're taking over police roles, and they're determining of these assessment teams are, whether somebody was raped or not raped, whether they've committed a crime or haven't committed a crime. I'm always bothered that this is not police cases. So here we have a guy who's obviously got issues. He's on the campus, and now he goes and shoots four people. Did anybody see it coming? His family goes, we never saw anything here. I don't buy it. I'm going to say this is not a normal behavior. So somebody who commits a mass murder like this, there's always some behavior that is questionable all rolling up into it. But people are not aware of it or don't want to admit it. And that includes colleges, who tend to downplay an awful lot of stuff that goes on a college campus, where improper behavior is going on, improper drug use, improper alcohol, improper parties, improper sexual stuff, improper weapon stuff. They downplay it, and they got to stop doing this. Our colleges are places our children are supposed to go for an education. And I will go with, I believe it's Mexico has a system. I would have no problem with going to the Mexican system, which is basically this, that you go to college near your house. You go to the local college, and it's covered by the government like high school, but you have to pass the test to get in. In other words, if you're not college material, you don't go. And guess where you go when you finish your classes? You go home. And that college does not support sororities, fraternities, all these clubs, and all this athletic crap. You're going there for an education. The other stuff, do it on your own time. Do it on your own time. Keep it out of college. That's my personal opinion. I guess I've never been for the big college experience where you go away, spend a fortune or spend your parents' fortune or run up your debts and spend your time drinking and partying and, your whole life is athletic events and partying. That's not what you're in college for. I'm sorry. I don't agree with it. And yeah, it may be fun. Don't agree with it. So I have my own opinions on that. I just don't like it. I like people going to learn. If you don't want to learn, don't go. But this is what's happening a lot of times on college campuses. Now, in that vein, another very sad case that came along here, and that is what's happened out in, this is in Ohio. Let me show you these people, these lovely pictures of these four kids that were killed, 4 of them. It's just unbelievable. And unfortunately, again, for some reason, my entire thing disappeared. So here they are. Well, aren't they? There they are, the 4 kids. Okay, old-fashioned style. There they are, the four kids. 2 of them were dating. They all lived in one place. This happened. I guess they'd all been out and they went to a food truck. They had some food. Beautiful kids. It's hard to fathom. There's the 2 of them that were killed. They were childhood buddies and everything. They've been together forever as friends. They were killed. And how were they killed? With a bladed weapon. We don't have any reports yet as to exactly how they were killed, whether there was any defense wounds, whether they're killed in their sleep. Don't know. But this is a story coming out of Ohio. I'm sorry, I said Ohio. So guys below, don't say Ohio. Idaho. Sorry, Idaho. 4 Idaho college students were killed in targeted attack with an edged weapon. Police in the city of Moscow said autopsies were completed later this week. Federal officials are partnering with local police to investigate the murders of 4 college students in Moscow, Ohio. Why am I on the Ohio kick? Idaho, whose deaths were so gruesome that the local coroner said she is still processing what she saw. And when they say bladed weapon, they're saying like a knife, but I don't know that that's what that is. It could be a sword. It could be a machete, cutlass. It could be that. Because a lot of times when you have lots of gruesome injuries and you've got that many people, you need a larger weapon because then you can slash at people and they don't have much chance when you do that. A knife is harder because at least people can tackle or run so I don't know. They said like a knife or something. I would tend to go for a bigger weapon. But we'll see because I don't have autopsy information. I don't know what actually happened to them. They said it's all very traumatic. Police in Idaho said Tuesday they believe an edged weapon, such as a knife, was used in targeted attacks. And they have quotes around the targeted attacks on the 4 students, shedding light on the case that has left a shocked community with unanswered questions. They also said, this is interesting, they said investigators believe this was an isolated, targeted attack, and there's no imminent threat to the community at large. Well, I'm going to say this, even if it was targeted, some guy who slashed up 4 people, or a couple guys, or whomever slashed up 4 people to the point of murdering all 4 of them, is a massive danger to the community. Even if it was targeted, they know somebody might be coming after them. It is hard to say. There are killers who've turned into mass murderers after they killed their mother and their aunt and their little cousin. Then they went and killed the neighbors, and then they went and killed more people. To say it's the community is not in danger is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. they are in danger because the person who did this has not been caught, and we don't know his state of mind or what he's willing to do at this particular point in time. So I think that's a ridiculous statement. They can say they think it's targeted, but they should warn everybody to be well aware that this person is still in the community, or persons. Now, then you get this idiot. Moscow Mayor Art Betch, I don't know how to pronounce his name, Bettge, has speculated the deaths might be linked to a property crime gone wrong or a crime of passion. Mayor, you're not a criminal profile or a detective. Please stop. You haven't got a clue to what the motive behind these 4 murders were. You have not a clue. But then, of course, after he says, and of course, I will say this, I don't know, maybe he never said it that way, and this is just a crappy media reporting it. But without a suspect, without knowing anything was missing from the home, a motive remains elusive. That's from the report. All right, patience is needed to allow the investigation to proceed. And it's just then so on and so forth, and very sad. And the guys in the community, people are not safe. I'm sorry, because that's not like one personal murder where a person strangles their girlfriend or something, and probably is not going to go strangle a bunch of people. We're talking about a person slashing up 4 people to the point of murdering all of them. That's a danger to the community. Just unbelievable that they would say anything but that. All right. Let's say fantastic. Okay, I'm looking back for the Ashton book. Fantastic book by his father. The father of whom? Somebody tell me what we're talking about here. I'm completely lost here. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, let me get here. Ashton prosecuted Casey. Oh, okay. With Linda Drain, or is that her name, Drain? Burdick. Okay, so he was the prosecutor in the case. Oh, okay. So it's his book on the prosecution. Yeah, I highly recommend reading the prosecutor's book, because I think that'll give a lot of information about how the whole thing went down. And there's a lot of people who say, oh, the prosecution failed. I don't think they failed. I mean, they shouldn't have brought up the chloroform issue. Look, if bringing up one issue that is a little confusing to the jury is enough to wipe out every other piece of information, you don't have a jury that can handle things. That's the problem. So the prosecution is supposed to come in there blazing with the most perfect case ever known to man. The defense can pretty much just throw a bunch of crap on the wall, and then oh, okay, the prosecution didn't do a good enough job. Just drives me crazy. Idaho. Idaho. I like your attitude about college. Thank you. It just really bugged me. Let's see. Annie, stop that. What about Iowa? Now I'm saying Iowa. Who was the person that claimed I was drunk before I did my show? Diet Pepsi. Oh. Idaho, not Iowa, not Ohio. Idaho. All right. Idaho. No break in entry. So someone they knew. We don't know anything about this case at the moment. Zip zero. I haven't got a clue. I really don't. We're not going to know what yet about these cases, and that's important to know. It's the same problem we're having with the Debbie Collier case. So recently, the daughter of Debbie Collier came out, and she said that she thinks her mother committed suicide. Now, before you jump and say, oh, this is ridiculous, that is something the police also said may have happened. They went with homicide, then they kind of backtracked and thought maybe suicide. And it's a strange case where we have seen Debbie Collier going to a store, buying stuff, even though her son now says it isn't his mother, which I'm pretty sure it is, and leaving the store on her own, and then just sometime later sending some strange message to her daughter and a huge amount of money on Venmo, and then ending up in the forest nude and some burn marks on her stomach with some burn stuff. It's such a strange case. And they've got some people who are, her daughter's got behavioral issues. Let me say that. She has some boyfriend issues. So does her mother, for that matter. So they've got some suspects in this case that could be involved. I believe John Kelly came out, profile of John Kelly came out originally and said it was a serial killer. And that I do not see at all. And I think there's no proof that's headed that direction. But people have committed suicide in the strangest ways you can imagine. And this is such a strange case, it may be that. Or somebody may have killed her. I do not know. And so people keep asking me to analyze this case. And I have no autopsy photos, no crime scene photos. There's not much to work with. So I can't go further than to say I don't know. I will say I don't think it's a serial killer. I can't say any more than that, whether it's suicide or homicide, because it is bizarre either way. So we're going to have to wait it out. I don't know what the police know. I don't know if the daughters know something and then she's just going to say, oh yeah, suicide, to stop people from looking at her. The son believes it's homicide. Who knows? But I can't go further in analyzing the case because I don't know, because there is not enough information out there at this point in time. So consequently, I won't go there. I did want to talk about a great letter. Hopefully let me see. It was an email. An email from one of my wonderful, where is it? Oh, come on. Why am I having problems tonight? Oh, Lord. I wanted to read this because I thought it was good. Hold on one second. I'm going to have to go search for it now. Everybody who comes to these Hangouts has to be a little patient because, these Hangouts are just, I'm jumping from subject to subject. And sometimes, it's, I jump a lot. Okay, where is this? Oh, I'm so annoyed now. Oh, here we go. Thank you. Sarah, are you here, Sarah? I don't see Sarah here. Sarah sent this to me. She said, hi, my favorite profiler, which is always a nice way to start when you want to challenge something they might have said. Great way to start. Instead of, I generally like you, but you're an idiot. No. Hi, my favorite profiler. I hope you're well. I want to mention to you 2 exceptions to the rule, the outliers, when it comes to police sketches. Because one of the things I'd said during the Delphi thing was we got these 2 sketches. And I pointed out that witnesses aren't always that great. And in a case where these witnesses, mind you, that supposedly gave these, and there's a lot of argument over where the sketches came from, who were the people, did it actually come from the video over here? And I don't even know at this point where the truth lies. But I just want to talk about sketches in general. In the Delphi case, there was not the people who were asked about this, at the time they saw the person, no crime had been committed. So when you're walking through the park and you're like, hey, how you doing? Hey, good morning. You're not focused on that person's face because as far as you know, they're just regular people walking through the park. You're not particularly paying attention. That's real different from a girl who gives a detailed information sketch where somebody has been raping her for 30 minutes and doesn't have a mask on. She might be able to say, hey, this is what this guy's face looked like because I was staring in the buzzard's face for 30 minutes straight while he was raping me. That crime was going down. She was looking at the suspect at the time. She's going to have a better chance if she's not like me, who can't identify anybody and can't do face features at all outside of an egg, with 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. That's me. I can't come up with anything more than that. So I would be dreadful. But there are people who are good. So there is a woman who, in the process of being raped, will stare at her attacker's face, and she will notice that the nose is wider, or the lips are thinner, or that the eyebrows go like this, are thick or thin. She'll notice these things. The hair is receding, the color, all that stuff. And then she will get with that sketch artist and put together a pretty darn good picture of that person. But sometimes when a crime goes down, or let's say, for example, a shooter comes down, he shoots and then he runs. So what happens is you're standing out there in the street, you're like, waiting for the bus, and some guy all of a sudden pops up and pow, shoots and then runs. You did see the shooter, but it was unexpected. You're in shock. And how well did you focus in on his face at that moment, and how well can you remember it? So those get a little more questionable, those sketches. Then you get Delphi, and supposedly people saying, I saw this guy on a trail, but at the time I wasn't even thinking that anything had gone down. So there's no reason for them to fixate on that face and to memorize any of the details. So chances are it's not that great necessarily of a sketch, unless this person just got like a photographic memory, and then, hey, you're lucked out. You lucked out. But a lot of times, especially when that person isn't even somebody who's they thought did anything wrong, they're not necessarily going to remember it really well. So that's why I say a lot of times sketches just aren't that good, except under certain circumstances. So anyway, Sarah wanted me to know that there are these outliers, which is true. When it comes to police sketches, I agree. They all look like someone or everyone, and seldom a reliable tool. Kind of like witness testimony being unreliable. Correct on that, Sarah. I thought of 2 cases off the top of my head when something different happened when it came to sketches. They were so good, so on the money. The suspect were told they looked like the sketch. Paul Bernardo, the Scarborough rapist, and eventually hooked up with Carla Homolka up there in Canada and killed a bunch of girls. That one looked exactly like him. Why? I'm going to say, Sarah, I think this came from the witness. The person was being raped. So again, she's seeing the face, and he is the guy committing the crime. So she just might be really good at that. The second was the infamous John List, who killed his whole family and left to start a new life, parts unknown. Instead of the computer-generated age progression photos, sometimes they're laughable to me, they decided instead to make a bust sculpture of him from the neck up, guessing which features, facial markings he might have 20 or 30 years later. Interesting. I never heard of this. They used plaster of Paris and wax to make a bust of the older John List, even down to the glasses they put on the bust. They just so happened to be the exact pair that he was wearing. How about that? They just, in the present day, it was on Merck's Most Wanted, and they captured him within a week. Interesting when the sketches are relayed so accurately that the pendulum sometimes changes directions. Oh, that's fantastic. I wasn't aware of that, and that's really cool. So if any of you are interested, look up John List and see this whole thing about that. I think that's fascinating. So yes, sometimes it's good. And I do not object to the police doing sketches, mind you, because that may be all they have. And sketches can bring in tips. So if the sketch is good enough, it just might jar somebody's mind to say, that looks just like my cousin, that squirrely dude. He came home and he was like muddy, and that girl was killed in a mud pit. How come my cousin was muddy and looks like that? I think I'll call the police because I don't like him. So, there might be somebody who it will trigger that. I will also let you know that the police sometimes get 5,000 tips off of that, and everybody's calling about everyone they don't like, mostly ex-husbands and such, So a lot of times it generates a whole lot of useless tips. And the same thing is true with cars. A lot of times people report cars in the vicinity that they say, oh, I saw that car. I think that did happen in the Bernardo case. They were looking for the wrong car for the longest time, and he never owned that car. And he was, that really amuses him. Oh, you're looking for what color car? Cool. Keep looking for it. Not mine. There was also down in Spotsylvania, Virginia, there was a case of the Lisk sisters. I'll do that case one day because it's horrific. And just fascinating the way the whole police investigation went down, and some real interesting stuff about that. But one thing that happened was white trucks. People saw these white trucks on the road nearby, white truck. Well, it was the time it happened. The area has a tremendous amount of white trucks that do work in the area. They're utility vehicles, they're work vehicles. And for example, they also, I think during the sniper incidents in DC, they had the same problem because the sniper was like shooting at gas stations. So like you're in a gas station and you hear shots and you see this car, this black truck races off, and you go, aha. Well, if you hear shots, what are you going to do? Put your foot on the gas and get the hell out of there. So it's interesting. It's not you. You're putting your foot on the gas and racing out too. but it's not you who did it. It must be that guy who's racing out of the out of the gas station. So that's where you get all kinds of just things that aren't accurate. And that's unfortunate, but that does happen. And so I just want to talk about the issues of identifying people by way of vehicles and by way of facial features. There was, what case was I going to talk about that has something to do with that? Oh, found it. Okay. Let me just check in on you here. BLW says, wait, what are we talking about now? I don't know. You might have to go back and this is from the chat room. So hopefully you don't know what's happening in the chat room. But yeah. By the way, if you'd like to be in the chat room, you just click on the link below. That is the Patreon account. This is a patron-only chat, which keeps things civil. But you can join and also do, while you're at it, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and make up for all the Casey Anthony unsubscribers. Okay, I want to talk about the Claremont serial killer because that was brought to me about, I was looking for cases of Australia to do on the Friday show. I want to do a Friday night show this week. And somebody brought up Claremont, and I looked at it, and it's not enough for a show, but it had a couple of really good pieces of information I wanted to bring up. So the Claremont serial killings is a name given by the media to a case involving the disappearance of Australian women aged 18 and the killing of two others aged 23 and 27 in 1996 through 1997, and Claremont, which is a western suburb of Perth. Okay, so that's in Western Australia. All three women disappeared under similar circumstances. And I want to point out the similar circumstances because, ladies, stop doing this, please. Oh, so upsetting. But anyway, let me go with the circumstances of how they disappeared. The first woman left a club, and then she went to a public telephone booth because this was 1996. I guess we didn't have cell phones. Yeah, maybe not 1996. I'm not sure when we got cell phones, but anyway, she went to a telephone booth, which I forgot even existed. And she made a phone call to Swan Taxis. Although she was living in South Perth with her older sister at the time, she had requested to be taken to the nearby suburb of Mosman Park. She was then sighted waiting alone near the corner of Stirling Road and Stirling Highway by 3 eyewitnesses, who also mentioned seeing an unidentified car stopping while she was waiting. However, she was not at the site when the responding taxi arrived at 2:09 a.m. Okay. In the dark, the driver could have missed her, but her disappearance just got a lot of attention, but unknown. Ladies, dark parks, 2 o'clock in the morning, don't be there. Don't be there. Stay over at the club. I don't know what you were doing over there. Nobody knows what she was doing over there. It's very weird. Okay. Anyway, also, now it's the next one. Early hours of Sunday. Jane Rimmer, so she's out on Saturday night, 23 from Shenton Park, also disappeared from the same part of Claremont. Similar to Spears, she had been out socializing with friends the night before. Rimmer's friends explained how they had moved from the Ocean Beach Hotel to the Continental Hotel and then Club Bayview. They'd been to 3 places. I'm going to say drinking was involved in all 3 places, which is one thing. Again, women do that. They don't handle liquor that well as men, so they tend to get drunker, and that's not safe. So anyway, noting the long line at the club, the friends then caught a taxi home, but Rimmer opted to stay. Again, stay with your friends, don't stay alone. But she opted to stay, and she was last seen on security footage waiting outside the Continental at 12 o'clock in the morning. So outside the Continental, she didn't get, what did she get into? We don't know. Did she get into a taxi? Did she get into a strange car? Was she abducted, just grabbed? Especially if she'd been drinking a lot. She might not have been so steady on her feet. So 55 days later, her naked body was found 40 kilometers away in bushland near Wolcott Road by a family picking wildflowers. So she was grabbed, assaulted, and dumped. 9 months later, in the early hours again, Saturday, so somebody was out on a Friday night, a 27-year-old lawyer disappeared from the Claremont area. Like the others, she was with friends at the Continental and had decided to make her way home. Now, you would think if you hear the stories of these other women, please don't repeat the stories. 3 men at the bus stop saw Glennon walking south along Stirling Highway by herself in the dark at approximately 12:30 a.m. and observed her interacting with an unknown light-colored vehicle which stopped by her. 19 days later, her semi-clothed body was found by a bushwalker and scrub off a Pippendinny Road in Eglinton. All right, so you got three dead girls. 2 dead girls, 1 missing girl. First thing they focused on was taxi drivers, which is reasonable because, actually people are afraid of Uber. Uber's a lot safer than taxis because at least Uber, there's proof that they picked you up. There's proof where they're supposed to be going. Taxi driver can pick you up and it's not registered anyplace. So whenever women got into taxis, you had no clue who the driver was. And nobody ever knew you got in. So if you got killed by the taxi driver, so they went after the taxi drivers, and they got a massive fingerprint and DNA testing exercise was carried out with thousands of taxi drivers licensed in Western Australia, something in the US probably would never be permitted. So they found a whole bunch of unlicensed operators, which you can see the problem there. Not only, they're not even real taxi drivers, they're just operating as taxi drivers. And so 78 drivers with a significant criminal history were delicensed. Those are the ones that had license. Oh, gosh. So they had a lot of criminals driving because the thing about being a taxi driver is it's an easier job to get, especially if they don't check criminal history. All you have to say is, I can drive. So stricter standards were now applied. So they learned from this. So at any rate, they didn't get a killer through that. Then they had a suspect, a guy named Lance Williams, 41 years old, because he was driving around Claremont like 30 times. So they had a decoy operation. This guy just kept driving around in circles. And so he became very suspicious. And he was, let's see, how many years? Several years. They interviewed him over 6 times. And he kept saying he was innocent. And in 2008, they said he was no longer a person of interest. Why was he a person of interest? Because if you act squirrely and drive around in circles in an area and look creepy like you're trolling for women, you're going to become a suspect, especially after this has already happened. And this has happened. You're still good suspect. And some people say, I don't know why they looked at him. That's why. And also, when we look at Delphi, there's red herrings. And red herrings being that there's good suspects that don't turn out to be the guy. And it doesn't mean the police did anything wrong. It means that they had no idea who it was. So in this case, in Claremont, they went through all the taxi drivers and didn't come up with anybody. Then they found squirrely guy driving around. Maybe it's him. They're trying like hell to get a suspect because they don't know who it is. Then in 2016, so we're talking a long time away, they arrested Bradley Robert Edwards, in relation to the deaths. They did not think he had a previous link to the case, but he did plead guilty to an aggravated assault of a social worker. And he had some other attacks. He had a breaking and entering into a house where he attacked an 18-year-old woman, but he fled and he stole a kimono, and that kimono had his DNA on it. All right. And then there were other unlawful detention and 2 counts of aggravated sexual penetration without consent of a 17-year-old girl. And also charged with willful murder. Something is charged with the murders. All right. What did they have on him? Well, one of the things was the vehicle that people had seen over and over again. And unfortunately, I say nothing was working. So old-fashioned method, that's the vehicle they saw, which is, I don't think, the most usual vehicle. And he used that. That was the same model as his car. And they found in the car carpet fibers that matched in the rear of the car. They had fibers that matched both of the girls, and also apparently the DNA from the kimono that he stole. Also, the DNA matched DNA from the girls. Now, when it went to trial, of course, what do you think the defense said? The defense said that they said that they thought the DNA came from let's see, where is it here? They said the evidence was contaminated in the laboratory. So when you have a match, you have to say it was contaminated or faked. And I'm not saying that does not ever happen. There are some times where you have to question the honorability of the evidence coming out of certain DNA labs, because there are people in there who will do the bidding of certain other people. So there are a couple cases I question the DNA results on. I do. This one is what, so, and this, but it often is used by the defense just to say, hey, that's why the DNA was there, because they put it there. So that was that claim. And then they also claim the fibers, yes, they did match, but they didn't, maybe some other car had the same fibers. Okay, maybe some other car did, but some other car wasn't also matched to the DNA, which was also not matched to a sexual predator. And I'm not sure what else he got, but in this particular case, apparently that vehicle got him caught. So sometimes vehicles and the sighting of a vehicle is correct. And if it's correct, it's fabulous, because you actually catch somebody, which is great, which is really good. So that was the thing I wanted to do on Claremont. Let's see, I had one other thing I wanted to do. I was going to do a thing on Peter Ellis, but I'm going to defer that to a full show. And let's see. Oh, this was just an interesting case today that came up. And I cannot understand the thinking here and what's being told to the press. A car drives into a group of Los Angeles area law enforcement recruits, injuring 25, including 5 critically. Okay, now the car is complete smash up. It's completely totaled. The guy survived who was behind the wheel. Now listen to this. A 22-year-old drove a car into a group of recruits from various law enforcement agencies across the Los Angeles County area, injuring 25. All right, and 5 in critical. Another 4 recruits suffered moderate injuries, while 16 others sustained minor injuries. All right, the driver also sustained minor injuries. The crash appears to have been an accident. Los Angeles County Sheriff Alex Villanueva said, a horrific accident. Okay, so when I hear accident, I'm assuming something caused this accident. Now listen to what it says here. The driver, who was going the wrong way, showed no sign of impairment and blew a 0 on a breathalyzer test. There were no skid marks visible at the site of the crash. So how in broad daylight does a guy who's not even drunk go the wrong way on the road and not even brake when he sees these are guys running up the road? So what they were wearing, 75 recruits, all wearing white t-shirts and green shorts, were on what the captain said was an LASD training bureau, typical run, part of their 22-week training course. They were accompanied by 2 safety vehicles. Well, those worked out well. And were running in 4 lines when they were hit. So you got 4 lines of people coming down the road with supposed safety vehicles. I don't know where they were at. I really don't understand that. 4 lines of guys running down the road. This guy crosses, I guess, the center line, sees them and doesn't even put the brakes on or swerve. He just runs them down. And you're going to tell me this is an accident? Police recruits? That's one of the reasons we don't have too many recruits anymore, because it's not a good job to get these days to join the police force. I don't understand how this was an accident. Just blows me away. Well, there's an interesting, need a toxicology screen. I'm sure they did that. I don't know what they've come up with, but he blew 0. So what else? Could there have been something else in the system? That would be important to know, because either he did this on purpose and they're calling it an accident because it looks like it looks like he intended to run them down. Unless there's some other reason why he's on the other side of the road and doesn't brake. So the toxicology screen, yes, should be done. He's a young man, so it's unlikely it was a stroke or anything like that. So I found it very strange that they immediately came up, and he was 22 years old, 22. I think it was also not a 16-year-old who may have just not got panicked and just not known what to do. 22 means you've been driving for 4 or 5 years. I find it very strange that the sheriff came up and said it was an accident. I don't understand that at all. I think he needs to justify why he even said that, because I don't get it. I thought that was horrific. So it could be a mass murder, and he's calling it we'd look at it's like the parade guy, that creepo. Clearly it wasn't an accident. That was a mass murder. He ran over people and children on purpose. This guy ran over a whole pile of recruits. And I don't know, maybe the car was an auto drive and it failed. Yeah, the Tesla stuff, I mean, I don't know. I mean, hopefully we'll find out. I think it's a very curious story. I just read it before I did the show, and I was like, how is this how is this an accident? Or how can you say it's an accident unless you absolutely know it is? What does he have to say it's an accident? Because I think that's jumping the gun. He should say, we think it might be an accident, but we have not finished an investigation to find out how the driver ended up doing this, and so on and so forth. I think it's very bizarre. Maybe by the next week, I'll have some information on that case, because I think that's super strange. Let's see if there's anything left here that I want to talk about. I think that might be it. Oh, somebody did want me to mention this particular woman. And again, God, this is so annoying. Hi, no, come back. Where are you? Now I'm having double technical problems. Okay, I'm going to show this picture instead. Don't go away. There it is. There is a woman and there is a ship. All right, this woman, I don't know. Everything vanished out of everything. Everything's missing out of all my files, which is bizarre. I have no clue how that happened. Anyway, a wealthy owner of Tiffany's jewelry empire in Turkey. She's 71 years old. Her name was, and I can't pronounce it, Dilek Ertek, 71 years old, mysteriously plunged to her death from a cruise ship while she was on her birthday vacation with her Swiss lover, and her family suspects foul play. Now, I've done the thing on Amy Bradley, and the family suspects that she was murdered, and there's no evidence of this, and there's also no evidence she was taken into sex trade. So the chances of her going over the side of the ship by accident are most likely. But you have to look at my Amy Bradley to see all my different possibilities on that. Anyway, she fell to her death from deck 11 off the Norwegian Spirit into the South Pacific Ocean. Now, surveillance footage shows that she went overboard about 3 a.m. So something saw her going, and her body still hasn't been recovered. Her unnamed 74-year-old lover didn't report her missing. This is the key to it all. For 20 hours. 20 hours. So you're like sharing a cabin and your lover goes missing for almost an entire day. Where do you think she was? Hiding out in a public bathroom on the ship, in the casino, but you couldn't find her. Like, she didn't ever eat. I mean, Police questioned Ertek's boyfriend after the ship returned to Tahiti, but released him, citing a lack of evidence. So they didn't have proof that he did anything to her, but really? Several expensive pieces of jewelry were missing from her cabin safe, the Sun told police. Of course, I don't know what the Sun knows. The circumstances of the fall are puzzling. The 5'2" woman went over a 3-foot-high railing from the balcony of her cabin. It's difficult to fall from this type of passenger and cruise ship, said the captain. Anyway, they are now suing. They have a wrongful death lawsuit against the cruise ship company, which I think gets ridiculous because, and I pointed this out many times about cruise ships, the incidence of homicide and even suicide and accidents have increased dramatically since they've had balconies and private staterooms. Before, you could look out look out of the sea, but you couldn't fall out of it. You had to go out on the deck, and then you'd have to fall out of a public location. And so that happened very few and far between. But once they had massive staterooms, huge ships with so many decks and so many balconies, which I admit are lovely. If you have the money to pay for one, would you like a private balcony? Absolutely. You can sit out in your own balcony and have a glass of wine. It's lovely. But it's also a good way to shove somebody overboard. It's also a good way for somebody to get stupid, stand up on a chair going, whee, and fall over. It's also a good way to jump off the place. So I think they do have cameras on ships now, video, but I think they need to improve that because it seems like they keep missing exactly how that person went overboard. Either they miss the entire person going overboard, or they have a body that falls, but they don't know how it fell. But I don't see that the cruise ship is responsible for a homicide any more than a city is responsible for a homicide, because a cruise ship is nothing but a massive floating city. And especially when the person's in their private residence, which is what your stateroom is aboard the ship, how can they be responsible for what happens in your private stateroom? That's kind of up to you. So if somebody commits a murder in a home in my town, you can't sue the town. So I don't understand the suing constantly of cruise ships, as if they could prevent all of these things. And if the lover boy doesn't report the crime for 20 hours, I'm pretty sure he's the guy who did it. They're probably pretty sure the guy who did it. It's not like they, and they had no knowledge that she'd gone overboard until he reported it. So what could they do about it? So, but yeah, that's an interesting one. But those private balconies, they will do you in. The age difference is not much, by the way. No, he's about her age too. I know you're looking for a young hottie, it's like she's got herself a pool boy. No, this was actually a man her age. So, red flag, no reporting of missing companion. You bet, that's a huge red flag. Lisa says, there was a case of a young guy who befriends elderly people, takes care of them, and hopes that they'll leave him money. He forces them to change their wills and then poison them. Oh, that's popular, both male and female. So if you're getting older, yeah, you want to be careful of people who take care of you. And if you have an elderly relative, you want to be careful of who does that and who has any access to anything. Because as a person, some of them, obviously, some people, as they reach certain stages in life, have a level of dementia, which they then can lose ability to think properly. And somebody who's by your side and is kind to you on a regular daily basis is someone that person begins to trust. So yes, that can happen. So, but no, this guy was her age. So I don't know if he stole the crap out of the safe and that was what he was after. Or they got in an argument. I don't know, but 20 hours before you report her missing, sorry. Before you report her missing is a little odd, even if you could say, well, I was sleeping. Well, you could go with 8 hours. I was asleep. Didn't realize until I got up in the morning she wasn't in there. So I went out and had coffee, had myself a little breakfast. I couldn't find her anyplace. You would think after, at least, 8 hours sleeping, you didn't notice she wasn't there. Got to add a couple more hours on, maybe 10, 12 hours. I could go with that. 20 hours? Something's wrong. Something's not right about that. So that was it's interesting about the people who then go, oh my God, I'm never going on a cruise. No, going on a cruise is extremely safe unless you're going on a cruise with somebody you don't trust or shouldn't trust. That's the one who does you in. But you're not going to be kidnapped off into the sex trade. That's not going to happen. Nobody's going to do you in. I mean, rare occasions. There was the one occasion where the woman, I forgot her name now, she went drinking at the bar and went off with 3 guys. And I don't know that they roofied her to some extent, or she went willingly thinking nothing was going to happen. And then it turned into a nasty affair, So yes, can you be sexually assaulted on a ship? Sure. Can you be sexually assaulted in your hometown? Sure. A lot of it depends on behavior, what kind of precautions you take. Everybody should take precautions. I mean, just stay with people. Stay with people. And I say that for men too, because men can get in trouble with these things too by going off with some, and they do it all the time because it's like, oh, she said yes, let's go to her place. Then you get accused of rape, So, in a world where people are very sexually active with people they hardly know or don't know at all, don't even know their last name or their first name, stuff happens because that's never safe. Safety comes with a more careful lifestyle where you are careful of who you spend your time with, who you date, how soon you get into a relationship, because getting into a relationship too quickly and having sex too quickly also gets you involved with people who turn into nasty little stalkers. So, because so you got to be very careful of these things, but it takes a lot more patience and a lot more willingness to wait for better situations and less exciting situations maybe. But anyway, that's it for tonight. If you haven't been to the channel and you haven't unsubscribed because you think Casey Anthony is Ms. Innocence, please do subscribe to the channel. And also you can click on the link below and join Patreon, and supports the channel. And it also allows you to be in every one of the chat rooms with all the great people here. So, and I apologize for the weird stuff that happened tonight. I cannot figure why everything is missing off my computer. It's very creepy, and I'm hoping it's not missing off of everywhere else, because that's frightening. I tell you, when you go and everything's just all your files are empty. Hey, yeah, you're welcome, Red. I'm glad you were here. Poor Amy Bradley did go on a cruise with her family. She did. And that's what's really interesting. By the way, I'll just stop there. That is interesting. She did go on a cruise with her family, was in a cabin with her family. That's a more complicated and weird case. And so check my video out if you haven't. And if you're interested in anything, any case at all, do go to the YouTube search engine, put in Profiler Pat Brown in the case you're interested in. See if I've already done it. You can also look at all my playlists and case lists. That's there too. You can scroll through all of those. But the fast way is just to chuck it into the search engine with Profiler Pat Brown and see whether, she did that 6 months ago. So yes, I did Amy Bradley case. So that's up there. And all the great folks. Yes, absolutely. Oh, wait a minute. What's this? What was that case about the bridegroom who disappeared on his honeymoon cruise? Is George Smith? I think it's George Smith. I'm going to do something on George Smith. That's George Smith. Yeah. So, and this is actually true. Annie Haley says, bye from Ohio, not Idaho, not Iowa, but Ohio. And that is true. I know that. Bye, Ohio. Bye, Annie. I'll retain my subscription. Thank you, Martin. Oh, my God. Casey Anthony is innocent, and I'm the Pope. Excellent, excellent. You're all great here. Always fun. It's always fun to have all of my friends in the chat room. I love it, and that's why I do it this way. And I look back. I just want to say before I hit the button to say goodbye, I look back at some of my earlier videos where it was open to the public for all my live shows, and oh my gosh, the stuff that came up on there, I'm like, wow, that's why I stopped that, because it was just so out of control. So many crazy people coming in, and angry people, and haters and bots, and it was nuts. So I looked back and thought, I made a good decision to do this because it makes for a really good community, and I'd rather have that. So anyway, thank you for being here and being patient today, because stuff happens. It happened here. So anyway, now I really am having issues tonight. Anyway.